Welcome to the Powercast with Charlie Johnson. I'm one of the world's leading fitness and transformation coaches. I'm going to be providing you with the tools to build your ultimate body and mind. So, absolute pleasure today to have superstar Connor Crompton, teen bodybuilder, on the podcast. As only 20 years old, which is terrifying, makes me feel old. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's a pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure's mine. So, some of you guys will know Connor from my own social media, so my own YouTube channel and Instagram. Connor's a superb up-and-coming young bodybuilder. He comes from a great background, got a lovely, lovely family, and he's got a wonderful story to his first year competing. So, we just wanted to discuss and share your journey today, basically how you first got into bodybuilding and the road to the first show and the sort of the trials and tribulations of the whole process. Now you're at the other end of the tunnel, as it were.
Yeah, totally. So I think the journey first started really probably back when I was in school. I started training and like weightlifting, not really with the goal and purpose of stepping on stage, but I think as most sort of teenage lads begin off, they just sort of want like a nice set of arms and stuff like that, and that was my goal, and just to sort of add a bit of muscle onto my physique. And I was always that sort of typical, I wouldn't say skinny, but I was never like well built, and playing rugby and sports at school, I always wanted a little bit more size on me, and also to look, half decent when you go away with your mates and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it started.
Did it dumbbell curls for the girls?
Yeah, exactly. I remember, I'm sure my mate Harry's listening to this, but I remember, I don't know if you might know it, Charlie. Do you know Guildford Spectrum?
Yeah, I know Guildford Spectrum.
Yeah, so that was my first gym.
That was your first haunt.
Yeah, so that was my sort of like first, my first sort of proper gym I went to. And I remember I was like 15 and I was probably like nearly like 14, 15. And you had to be 16 to go in like the sort of weight area. So we always used to sneak in. And I remember literally every single session we used to start off with tricep push downs. And then we did biceps and then like chest. And we did that like every single session. Never trained back, never trained legs. And that's probably why to this day my back's a slightly lagging body part, because probably for the first year I had no structure, just went around the gym like trying out all the machines. Never had a coach, never had a proper training program. So that was like my first like sort of 6 months of everything. And then I began just like obsessing over it. As soon as I saw like an element of growth, I just became like pretty obsessed with it. I was never like, I think the thing that held me back when I was younger was the nutrition, because I didn't really understand like nutritional guidelines, nutritional timing, like calories, surpluses, deficits, etc. So I never knew any of that. And, it just started off pretty like bro sciencey really. And then I just, obsessed over it, taught myself quite a lot. And then I ended up at the Brilliant Physique Warehouse, which is kind of where everything became a little bit serious. Just being, this, if there's anyone out there listening who's struggling with things, if you've just got to put yourself in a very good environment, because at the end of the day, you're like a product of your environment. And I truly, truly believe in that. And I think...
You've been listening to me because that's like my favourite saying.
Is it?
I say it all the time.
I might be listening to you. But no, like, I think, I don't have an issue with like health clubs and things like that. But, if you're really wanting to take your physique to another level, it makes sense to put yourself in an environment where everyone else wants the same thing, and the equipment's good, the atmosphere's good. You training out of King's and Muscleworks Orpington, probably two of the best gyms in the UK.
Probably in Europe as well, to be fair.
Yeah, especially
you forget how fortunate you are. Yeah, like, I've got like these two gyms within half an hour of me. Like, I'm so fortunate to be able to get to training every day. You take it for granted, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah, totally.
you go to other gyms, you're like, this is just pony. And like, I see stuff in like, so I was doing a lot of cardio before summer at Pure Gym in Epsom, and I'd see people do things that literally would crush my soul.
Yeah.
Like that would demotivate me, just the environment of being in there, because it's substandard. Whereas if you surround yourself with excellence, you will become excellent. And the same thing with like the people you train with, the coach you have, the better people you have around you, the more it will make you level up and become better in yourself.
Yeah.
Which I think is what's happened with you, and like how you've blossomed so much, to use that term, is where you've like surrounded yourself with people whereby moving to a better gym, it's made you step your physique massively, because you see the level and the intensity that other people train at, and you think, I can do that too, and it makes you step up. So yeah, I 100% agree with you on that.
I think a lot of people, just diverting from my journey slightly, but in terms of like people, I think there's a lot of people who are very fixed in their ways and they want to know everything. And I think this, the second you sort of admit or like just take on board that you don't know everything, and you need to be like, as you've said in the past, like just be a student of the game.
Yeah, so it's just an open book. You just got to keep writing pages.
Yeah, and you just like, if I don't know, I wouldn't be in the position I would be now in terms of my physique development and other aspects of my life if I didn't like have an open mind. It would be very easy for like someone my age or a little bit younger to just be very closed-minded and just not like open to new ideas. But I don't mind taking on like board criticism, and I don't mind listening to people. That's why I've got an awesome coach, AJ Morris, if he's listening. He's probably one of the best, like the biggest sort of leap I've had, combined of, speaking to knowledgeable people like yourself. And you've just got to have like a completely open mind, because if you're closed off, you're just holding yourself back. So that's my take on that sort of stuff.
And one thing I say as well with you is like you're intelligent enough to interpret stuff correctly, and that you'll take things on board the way you feel you should interpret them for your body. Because like, even with all the correct information in the world, everyone's biomechanics, say specifically with training, are very different. So some movements might not work particularly well for you, and you need to be aware of that. Like, don't just do something for the sake of it if it doesn't feel quite right. And I know, having trained with you, that you're well aware of what works and what doesn't, and what you need to focus on.
Totally. It's like, I think Mike actually got a question yesterday. I saw it on his Instagram, and it was like, what's the best exercise for like a pump or like muscle growth? It was something along the lines of that. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's what works for you. I think the days of squat, benching and deadlifting has long gone.
That sunset's gone.
Yeah. And if someone said to you, what's the best leg exercise for someone who's like 5'6", it might possibly be a barbell squat. But for me and you, I know, like, both of us are relatively tall and we have quite long legs.
Tall and gangly.
So like, for me and you, doing a barbell squat is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of lower back and a lot of glute, probably.
Yeah, as we learn on the M10 seminar, transitioning into something a bit more even safer, but is probably going to create a lot more pain and a lot more muscular growth, is probably something like a hack squat or a leg press.
Just refreshing back, because no one would have probably been there who's listening to this. I think what Connor's referring to is when Mark Coles got me up at the front of the seminar, got me to do a body weight squat, and was like, you should never ever do a squat because your mechanics are so poor for it. That it's just a bit of a shit show, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I was like trying to do, I remember doing like 1 rep maxes with like 240 and stupid things like that. Like, you get away with it back then, but eventually your soft tissue is going to go, and you have to be more educated than that. Unfortunately, I'm now informed enough to understand that like you have to use your brain, not just your iron will, as it were. Yeah,
totally. I remember I remember training legs once at Physique, and I think you were standing behind me once, and I was doing barbell squats, and when I was like 17, I could do like 180 for like 2, like something ridiculous. I probably struggle to do like 120 now. but my legs are probably double the size. So that kind of shows you it's not all about, you know, it's not all about throwing
the weight and the strength
on barbell squat. Yeah.
100%. Now, with your progression, you progressed very quickly when you went into obviously a better gym in terms of environment. What was a pivotal moment for you that then made you think, okay, I fancy having a crack at competing?
Oof.
Was there a trigger point, or was that always something in the back of your mind you wanted to do, but you were just maybe concerned what other people's opinions would be, or judgment, or like your parents, or?
I think the only time I've ever struggled with something that is like where I've worried about other people's opinions. So I've never worried about stepping on stage and like people thinking like what's this guy doing? Because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm probably one of the, you know, there's not like, especially with me being at university, you know, there's not many people like surrounded me in my personal environment that do like compete as a competitive bodybuilder. Excuse me. And you know, that can be quite a struggle. Sorry, mate. You know, that can be quite a struggle. But I think the only time I've really sort of been held back by what other people think is when I first started my Instagram page. I was like, you know, like 14, 15. Yeah. And like, you know, obviously when you're like 14, 15 posting like topless, like physique photos and progress photos and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's not really normal nowadays. You know, everyone's trying
to jump on the bandwagon.
Everyone has a fitness page. Everyone has, you know, gym pages and stuff like that. And I'm not saying for a second that like I was like one of the first to have a fitness page, because I wasn't. But like just when I was my age, it wasn't particularly common to have one. And I think out of everyone like we knew in my school and stuff like that, I was like the only one to really have one. So I got a little bit of stick for that. Nothing said anymore about it. They've all shut up now.
The funny thing is everyone did the same thing to me. So like back in the day, everyone was like, why are you doing this? Why are you posting these photos? This is inappropriate. What you achieve? And then like the funny irony is like 3 years later, like, how have you done this? And it's like,
totally. They all come back crawling in the DMs asking for a workout plan.
Yeah, very true. There's nothing funny when they sign up as clients as well. That's more amusing.
Yeah.
But we digress. But back to your journey.
Yeah. And then in terms of competing, I mean, I've been a huge fan of like, you know, just like big YouTubers, watching their sort of show day videos and, you know, watching Pumping Iron and things like that. I don't really think there was a turning point when I was like, I'm going to do it. But one thing was, I remember when I was like, sort of like 16, maybe 17, I was like, do you know what, next summer I'm going to step on stage. And then it got to the next summer and I was like, okay, next summer I'm going to do it. And that went on for like a good, like 3 years. And then last summer I was finally like, right, in, you know, September time, I'm going to put an inquiry in with AJ and help him get me set up. And, you know, if there's anyone like listening out there who's ever set a goal to be like just happy with their body, you know, you'll get to a point where you're kind of possibly satisfied. But if you're really striving for the next level, you're never really going to be in a position where you're like, right, I'm ready. And that's why it took me like a good like sort of 3 years to really say to myself, right, I'm going to do it. Because I was petrified on getting on stage and just not having enough muscle. But I think every guy in the whole fitness industry has that.
Yeah, you'll never have enough muscle. It's the same thing. People have the fear of taking action. Like you just have to go out and do these things, because if you don't do them, you don't know what the end result will be. And like that's the biggest thing, that people are afraid of taking action, actually going to go and make things happen. And you just need to step up and literally just like, the most difficult thing would probably be for you reaching out to a coach and to AJ and being like, help me, I want to work with you. That was probably the biggest step for you, I guess. Was that like put that email and be like, hi AJ, I want to work with you. Or like, that's the biggest step people have with me, is that first touch point of reaching out and asking for help, because that's often not an easy thing to do. And a lot of people sometimes struggle with that.
Yeah, it's difficult, you know, especially with the typical sort of, I don't know, alpha male. It's difficult to just say like, I need help. You know, when in reality, a lot of people just need that guidance, and you'll learn so much during the process of it, whether, you know, it's a mentor, it's a coach, a physique coach, it doesn't matter. You're going to learn so much. This past year, combined with like coaching and what I've learned through the process of it, and what I've been able to transition from what I've learned from my coaching experience to take it over to helping other people, combined with also like going to uni and studying what I love. Like, I've probably learned more in these past like 8 months than I have in probably my whole entire life, which is pretty cool.
To give you something similar, I've probably I qualified as a PT 10, 11 years ago, which is terrifying. I probably learned more in the last 12 months than the previous 10 years. Yeah,
PT courses are interesting.
Yeah, so it's basically turn up, get your certificate, off you go, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a sorry state of affairs. So, but that's the reality with that one. Now, with your obviously moving into your prep, what was the most difficult part of that you found? Because obviously you dieted for quite a long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, my contest prep was it was verging on nearly 8 months, 9 months, something along the lines of that. I started in October time, and my last show was on, I believe it was on June like 26th, 23rd, something along the lines of that. June 23rd, 26th, around that date. So, you know, obviously a long time dieting. The reason for that was we wanted to take me down nice and slowly. Obviously, not being a hugely well-muscled person, we needed to take me down slowly. Body fat levels were pretty high. They weren't in like a bad place, but I was pretty fluffy. I was probably like 95 kilos at the age of like 18, and in like not the best condition. But to put it in perspective, I was on stage at 78 kilos, so like a pretty nice drop there. Not all of the contest prep was obviously in a deficit. The last 6 weeks of my contest prep, we actually reverse dieted. So I ended up, in the last 2 weeks of my contest prep, at nearly like 500 grams of carbs a day with like 50 fat, like 200 protein. So we finished it pretty high. But there were some pretty low points in terms of getting the calories low, because that's just what we had to do in order to get in the shape I was in. We went down to, I sort of refrain on always like speaking about calories, because I think sometimes people they don't copy your calories, but just to like put a disclaimer out there, like this was
don't do this,
yeah, this was for my body, but we went down to 1,500 for, I think it was just under 2 weeks. That was the sort of the hardest 2 weeks in my life in terms of dieting.
What point of the prep was that?
That was in between Body Power and my first bodybuilding one. So that was probably like beginning of June, sort of end of May.
And what was that? Did you just drop basically to pretty much zero, very low carb, and what?
My fat went down to, down to like 35. My protein was at like 180, and the rest was carbs, like 150 carbs, something like that.
Okay, so it's pretty low then, to be fair.
Yeah, and then steps were like 15k.
If anyone wants to know some dedication, Connor bought a treadmill put in his bedroom. So
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's got a bit of dust on it.
Yeah, we won't be using that much, imagine, in your off season.
No, I haven't stepped on it since.
Probably got a love-hate relationship with that.
Yeah, yeah. I've spent some time on that.
Now, obviously, moving in from the prep into the first show, like I was there for your first show at Body Power. That was a pretty awesome experience, and like one of the nicest things I've ever seen is bringing smiles to my face, seeing you come off the stage with like your sister and your family. So nice. We bumped into you and your dad on the way up there as well. As where all bodybuilders meet at Starbucks. I had a bit of a laugh up there. So your dad's a top guy, and like the support and like love from your family to you is an incredible thing to see. And I think that's obviously part of the reason why you flourish so well. But how did you find the experience of the first show and the first time on stage?
I loved it. It was, like going back to the support network. I just, people, I've done a post on it before, but people think bodybuilding is probably the most like solo, selfish sport out there. And it probably is, to be honest. But if you've got a really, really good support network, whether that's like friends or family or your coach or like even people that follow you on social media, like that does help. And if you've got a really like nice combination of those things combined with like a lot of dedication, I think quite a lot of people would be able to do it, but some people just aren't fortunate enough to have that support network, and the support network is vital. And I certainly, like, I can say this, like, guaranteed, if I didn't have my support network, like my friends and family, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So like just being on stage, and when you can see your friends and family, like at the back of the stage where they were sitting is I just can't describe it. It's like an indescribable feeling when you're up there, because if you do a long prep, it doesn't really matter how long the prep is, but it's kind of like exaggerated when the prep's slightly longer. But when you're up there and you've put that amount of days and hours and just like pure graft in to be on that stage, and you deserve to be on that stage, that feeling's just like incredible. So I think the best part of like, it was obviously my first show, so everything was pretty overwhelming. But like the best part was just like spending the day at Body Power with like all my friends, family, and you guys. So that was probably like the highlight. And then, and then just like being on stage is just basically at the back of Body Power, just before you go on the stage, is like a big ramp, and you're like queuing up to go on the ramp. And I was bricking it.
Here's a question for you. The first time I competed, I remember walking out, looking at the crowd, and thinking like it felt like the biggest adrenaline rush. Like shot adrenaline hit me. I was like, "Fuck!" Like
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, literally. Like I've never felt anything like it. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. Yeah,
it's like I've never done this, but I don't know if you've been skydiving, Charlie, but
no.
When I was going up the ramp, I honestly felt like I was about to like jump out of an airplane. That's how I felt. Like my heart was going. I was like, why on earth am I doing this? And I was just like, it just got to that point, and like everything, like the past like 6-7 months behind me had just like gone as a blur, and now I'm standing on the stage, and I went around the corner and I just saw everyone. I was like, this is cool. And then I just hit my first quarter turn, and then like all the nerves went, and it was just good fun. And obviously I knew a few boys who were competing there, which was nice. And it was like nice to have that sort of first introduction into competing, and it was a really, really good first experience. So yeah, it was a good day.
And obviously after that show you went on and you did 2 more, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 more. Both with the UK DFBA, which is the UK Drug-Free Bodybuilding Association, which is a really, really good federation. I competed in their first qualifier. I came 3rd in that, so I got a top 3 in that, which I was over the moon with. And then so I qualified for the British finals, which are in October. I'm not doing them for like various reasons. And then I did a second one in Scotland with the same federation. I didn't place in that one, but it was a stacked lineup. The boys were very, very good. And I'm like one of the youngest juniors, so I've just missed out. I've basically missed out on like just like sort of 4 or 5 months missing out on a teen class because I just turned 19 before I competed. Sorry, I just turned 20 just before I competed. So I can't compete in the teen class. So I'm like one of the youngest juniors, but I've still got like 3 years left in the junior class, which is very interesting. So
gives you time to grow into it then.
Yeah, not time to grow into it. So potentially in the future there may be scope and room for having another crack at it, but we'll have to see.
No worries. So what's the initial plan now? Just keep slowly growing, enjoying life a bit more. What was your favourite thing now post-show, not being locked into like quite as much regiment?
Oof. Obviously, like food's quite a big one.
You're going to say that.
Yeah, food's quite a big one, which obviously like goes without saying.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But it's just, there's things on prep that you can't fully enjoy, and when you're dieting, you just can't fully enjoy them without like stressing over them. Like going out for a meal
is a ball ache.
You have to bring your, like I always used to bring my meals with me. If we'd go out to London for the day and do something, that would be like going on a 4-month holiday for me. I'd have to like prep everything. I'd have to bring all my meals. It would just be like pretty stressful. But like, it's just nice to just be back to normal and just enjoy like the normal things, which you honestly just can't enjoy whilst you're on prep. You know, you need to have a balance when you're on a contest prep, and it is possible to have balance. But when you're really digging for like next level condition and next level muscularity, it's pretty difficult to do anything outside of your gym, your cardio, your nutrition, your steps. And then you only really have time for like chilling out, which is what's needed. Other than that, you don't really want to do anything else, to be honest. But if I didn't, like, that's what I enjoyed when I was doing it. I like just generally enjoyed doing that. And if I didn't enjoy doing it, I wouldn't do it. And I think, you know, it comes down to why are you competing? Why do you want to do it? And if your like reasons are, you know, pretty set in stone, and you have like good morals and a good sort of ethics behind why you're competing, I think it will be a lot easier. But if you're competing for, I don't know, likes or Instagram or like a following or something like that, I think you're going to struggle.
No, I entirely agree. Now, obviously, Connor, you popped something on your stories, just a bit of a Q&A from some of your most avid followers. So should we ever run through some of your questions?
Yeah.
What's up first?
Okay, the first question is top 3 tips whilst dieting.
Ooh. You go first on these. Okay, if you do your 3 and I'll do my 3.
Okay. I would say put yourself in a position where you have to make very little decisions. So what I mean by that is
similar to what I was going to say.
I'd say, you know, give yourself either like a meal plan or like some set structure, because, you know, if you're getting home late from work or late home from the gym, you don't want to be like going through the fridge and thinking like, oh, what can I make? It's nice to just be able to get home and be like, okay, I've got 250 grams of rice and some chicken. Like, that is so much easier. You have to make 0 decisions. So I'd say just put yourself in a position where you have to make 0 decisions, and your like emotional attachment to food isn't the driver of what you want to eat. So yeah, just put yourself in a position where you have to make 0 choices. My next tip would probably be like something like food volume. So go for like more voluminous foods.
You're a master of the oats. This oat making be going on your Instagram.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I basically just tried to find out ways how to make like 50 grams of oats look like 100 grams of oats. So yeah, like oats are obviously quite a good way of like filling your stomach up a little bit. Like I remember post show, AJ said to me, just go home and eat as many oats as you can, because trust me, try and get through like a huge bowl of oats. When I mean a huge bowl of oats, I mean like probably like 200 grams of oats. You won't be able to get through it, and then you'll just be completely full, and then you'll just go to sleep. So that's a good way of stopping like post-show binging. Try and get through ridiculous amounts of oats. But yeah, like go for more volume. Have some like green veggies with each meal. Like choose food choices that are just generally more voluminous. So I remember couscous was like a huge one for me. You can get these like packs of couscous in like most supermarkets. That they are quite high in sodium, but like 2 packs is only like 50 grams of carbs, and you get a lot of bang for your buck, really, in terms of food volume. And then my last one is probably just eat foods you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, don't enjoy it too much, because if you enjoy it too much, you're probably going to want more of it. I remember at the end of my prep, I tried to make foods slightly more palatable, because I remember like finishing my oats and there'd be like, I don't know, they'd have like some dark chocolate in there or banana, and then I'd want more of it. But if I just did plain oats with some like cinnamon, I wouldn't really
get cravings as much.
Yeah, so those are probably my top 3 tips.
That's awesome. So for me, I would go for plan ahead for the week. So like schedule your training, your cardio, everything around your work and your lifestyle and whatever social events you have. I think being organised with a structure, with everything like that, will make it a lot easier, and then don't stress about things. I think that's one of the biggest benefits you can take from the fitness lifestyle, is the organisational skills you take from that. You can then carry over into everyday life. I think they're very beneficial for you. My second point would be to stay hydrated, because a lot of people often mistake hunger for actually being dehydrated. So I would ensure that you're taking in enough fluid. I'm a big fan of using a little bit of sugar-free squash now and then as well, if that wants to kill a bit of cravings.
Yeah.
My third one would be to bump up the green veg, again, similar to what Connor was saying in terms of like voluminous. So like I'm a big fan of like grilled aubergine and things like that in the oven. Like there's a bit of mushrooms, there's barely any calories in it, and like just chewing and eating more makes you think you're fuller and you don't want to eat as much. Or something like sauerkraut, for example, is very low in calories. It's like 18 calories for 100 grams. And it's very good for digestion. You can keep it in the fridge in a jar. And if you're like inclined to snack, have like a bit of that, and like just having something sometimes to eat can sometimes kill off the cravings a little bit.
Totally. Yeah.
Next question.
Got 2 really good ones here. So how much cardio is too much? We'll start with that one.
All right, I'll go first. It depends would be the answer. But initially, I would always try to keep cardio as far away from weight training as possible. So ideally, I would try to like do cardio fasted in the morning and use the morning as like a fat burning zone, and then weight train later in the day with some carbs around that, and use that as an anabolic zone, as almost to retain and build muscle tissue and push calories and carbohydrates into the muscle cells. Yeah. That would be my take and input in terms of that. Where to start? You want to start with the least amount of cardio as possible. And then if fat loss is stalling, I'd then incrementally increase. So maybe start doing, say, for example, 30 minutes fasted 4 times a week, then maybe go up to do that daily 30 minutes, then maybe take up to 45 minutes. And then maybe you could start looking to add a little bit in post-workout. That would generally be how I would look to work with most people. They'll probably implement cardio on non-weight training days from the start as well. Yeah. I don't know what your thoughts are.
So how much cardio is too much? I would say, like, to actually like just go straight for the answer, I'd probably say too much cardio is when the cardio starts to impact like your actual weight training. You know, if you're doing like an hour and a half of the Stairmaster, like every morning just before you go and train, especially leg training. I think if you're doing like ridiculous amounts of Stairmaster, for example, that's going to start impacting your leg training. And then, you know, in addition to that, you know, your legs are going to be battered. You're probably not going to be doing your steps as efficiently and things like that. And it's just going to be a downward spiral. So I'd say too much cardio is when it starts to impact, you know, other aspects of your sort of nutrition and training and recovery sort of standpoint.
I would agree entirely. I would agree. What's the next question then?
Best gym you've ever visited?
Oh, that's an easy one. Banous Gym in Dubai.
Yeah, I was very jealous when I saw that.
Have you been there?
No, I haven't actually. I've been to Dubai. I've been to Train and Strength.
Oh, Trainer Seth.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been there.
I've trained there. To be fair, that's probably second on the list. That is a very good gym.
Is it the one with like it's got the kitchen and the shop in there?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got like a massive plasma screen at the back. That's quite cool. Yeah, that's a good gym. My best gym I've ever trained in, probably for like the atmosphere, probably Gold's.
See, I've heard a lot of people say that it's like not what it used to be there, but I don't know if that's just people being negative.
I mean, obviously, I've only been there once, and I wasn't like. Unfortunately, I wasn't a bodybuilder back in the 80s, which is probably like it's.
You weren't alive back in the I was alive for 13 days. I can be an 80s bodybuilder.
Yeah, but like probably like for the whole like history of it, that was a pretty good gym. It's a tough question though. It's a tough question. There's always like places. I honestly think King's, you can't beat the atmosphere. I think it's the best gym in the world for atmosphere.
Yeah, the music's pretty banging and it kicks off pretty well in there in that respect.
Yeah.
They've also got some new equipment in there now, which is.
I've seen.
I used one of the shoulder presses yesterday. It's pretty banging, to be fair. So I am fairly impressed. I'm a big Muscleworks fan as well, though, to be fair.
It's all Strive kit, isn't it? The new stuff.
Strive and Arsenal Strength.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very good. So I would highly recommend anyone to go and have a look at it. That and
probably yeah. To be fair, the gym you went to in Dubai looks amazing. So that's got to be up there. I also really want to go to Flex and Tone in Manchester. That looks insane. Like proper old school. But yeah, I'd probably say Gold's for the sort of the history and things like that.
That's pretty cool. Good question. What's up next?
If you didn't lift, what other sport would you have taken up?
For me, I am a qualified ski instructor, so I'd love to have done something with that. Would probably have been my dream. Yourself?
I'd say my dream job, if it couldn't be like within fitness in terms of like taking up a sport. It's never been something I was into, but I think my dream would be to be like an F1 driver. That would be pretty sick. But like in terms of actual sports, I realistically could have taken up. I used to play rugby a little bit. I loved rugby. But to be honest, like my passion for like weight training just overtook rugby. So I think that's why I stopped it. But yeah, probably rugby, to be honest.
I thought you might have said that, to be fair. I remember when I first met you, you came from a rugby background from school.
Yeah, I used to play it a lot at school, so that's where it came from.
Cool. Any more questions?
Yeah, there's one more I've picked out. It's what's your biggest goals? It's probably quite a open question, but yeah, what are your biggest goals at the moment?
You go for yours and I'll finish with mine.
Okay. I would say right now, just to get in a position where I'm like healthy again, since like my contest prep, just get in a position where I'm like really maximizing everything, really like just taking on board how my body feels, making sure recovery is on point, making sure sleep's on point, just trying to like master everything. Just like every day, just trying to improve a little bit on everything. So that's probably my biggest goal at the moment. But long term, just get really, really strong, to be honest. Just get really, really strong over the next year. And then my goal from there will probably be just drop down a little bit and then push back up. So those are the goals at the moment. Yourself?
My goals are to try and transform as many people's physiques and lives as I can, educate them on health and wellness, try and add some value to their lives would be my general goal. My personal goals include on top of that are to build a world-class physique and learn as much as I physically can, which is a work in progress, and start a family at some point, hopefully, and then live a happy and prosperous, positive life. So, and push out positive energy into the world. So like, I hate anything to do with negativity, anything like that. So anything negative gets cut out, and I basically don't want to know. So that's pretty much my thought process and goal of where I'm at, to be fair.
Sounds like the dream.
Yeah, it's getting there. Work in progress, as is life. So as we've already said, like the first mistake anyone ever makes is that they think they know everything. Absolute pleasure to have Connor on the podcast. Where can people find out about you, Connor?
My Instagram is CWC_fitness, and my YouTube's CWC_fitness as well. And those are probably my two biggest platforms in terms of social media. So any follows, any comments, subscriptions, stuff like that mean the absolute world. And just thank you for all the support.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you on, Connor, and no doubt we shall train and see each other soon.
Very soon, mate. Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.